Hi folks, welcome back to The Addicted Bookworm. So at the time that this video is being done or uploaded is going to be the next day, which is going to be the 22nd of November. So I am on a nearly week-long vacation that I did not ask for, but to ensure that I'm not called in to work, my phone is off until Friday when I have to be back at work. So I'm taking this opportunity to get several books finished and everything. So this year, once again, we have the annual completing of the Goodreads Choice Awards, and it seems like to me that people that complain about this particular awards thing seems to not get that they're fueling the types of books they don't like. So, one of the biggest complaints that happened in it was that, once again, a vast majority of the people that are being given these nominations are straight white people, like Stephen King and several others. S.A. Crosby, not S.A. Crosby, sorry. Joe King, authors like that. Authors that have worked their asses off to be published. So, here's the thing. And I'm not going to make this a super long video because that's not what you want. Take it back. You don't want a super long video. You just want a long video. So, as somebody who grew up in the 80s and the 90s, when there were standards in publishing, we never complained about the quality of books. That was up to people that were hired by not magazines, but like newspapers and things like that. Their job was to use critical thinking to review books, and those reviews could either make or break an author. Now we have people that use emotions to review books. So, one of the books that got a lot of people's goats was Alchemized. And either they never read the books, or they read the books, but they already came to it with a preconceived notion. I am just about finished with Alchemized myself, and I will be dropping a review of that book today. So, here's the thing. When we go and have publishing companies, publishing houses, who publish these books because they were popular on the internet, because there is a dedicated following of people that will not just buy the book but read it. They're drawn to that. They're drawn to authors that they know will guarantee that they will be a New York Times bestseller and all that. And I keep on telling this over and over again to people, and they just don't seem to get it. One of the biggest things that happened is that the internet has changed so much of what kinds of books we read, how we approach books, how we do this, how we do that. The internet is a very powerful tool. And I'm saying this as a very neutral type of ground. Alchemized is definitely dark fantasy. It's definitely a dark fantasy book. And I knew it was dark fantasy when I got into it. And I think I've read this book for the last maybe 3 or 4 months. I'm gonna actually go on Goodreads and be like, hey, how long have you read this book? How long? So here's the thing. Women who have definitely helped to put books like Alchemize and Roses and Chains on the Goodreads Choice Award thing, they read what they want to read. Not every woman wants to read a feminine horror book. There are people that have been reading Stephen King, especially women, for a very long time. Anytime that Stephen King releases a book, is automatically going to be chosen to be nominated. His son, a very good author, very good author. He has worked his ass off to not be connected to his father. And I think that he does good work too. To be upset that straight white men or straight white women got nominated is a complete waste of time. And yes, I'm going to say this. If these authors have done some very bad things, then yes, we should not be promoting them. However, people are not going to look at the internet when they decide to buy a book. They don't. They go on Book Talk. They go, hey, no. They go and type an author's titled work and see if videos have done reviews on them. Nobody does that. Nobody looks at an author's reputation. I don't even do that. I don't. What a person does is between them and whatever God they believe in. Now, if you have murdered someone and have turned what you've done into a book, then yes, I will definitely judge you big time for that. Because that is definitely illegal in all realms of the imagination. When you go and get mad that somebody, as I said before, somebody's fan fiction has been published and they're making money off of it, I'll just say this in a way that does not appear to be stupid. If you get mad that somebody is making money off of a story they wrote, you don't have to read that book. You don't have to read that book. Nobody's putting a gun to your head and making you buy the book. Nobody's putting a gun to your head and making you acquire the book. None of that. You can do what most people have done for a very long time, and that is ignore the book, ignore the author. When you go and open your mouth and you verbally attack the book, you verbally attack the author, or you make a big deal about what they have written, you do the exact opposite of what you intend to do. Because as someone said, I believe it was on TikTok, just hating on the book gets the book published. Verbally attacking the book gives it notice. And I think that's one of the huge reasons that, and I might be wrong on this, but I think that's one of the big reasons that Roses and Chains did as well as it did. Alchemize did as well as it did because publishers knew that there is this genuine dislike and hatred for anything that smells like J.K. Rowling. And so if you can go and promote the book in a way that gets people angry, they will sell the book. When you go and ignore an author of a book that you do not like, and I know that's very difficult to do. It's so difficult to do. How the hell does society survive before social media? Oh my God. If you ignore an author, if you don't give an author clout or notoriety or any of that type of stuff, the book will fail. But when you open your mouth and you yell at high heaven about how much you hate this book and hate this author, or just hate the book, not necessarily hate the author, you drive sales up. Because there is no such thing as bad publicity. There isn't. Authors know this. Authors know this. They know that if they write a book and they're known in a certain kind of circle, that they are going to drive sales up. And I know it's very difficult to ignore these people. Oh my God, I don't like... Look, we know you don't like it. You don't need to constantly remind people you don't like it. So yes, Roses and Chains made a lot of money. Alchemize made a lot of money. This one story made a lot of money. That is the nature of people's love affair with dark fantasy, dark romance, things like that. They absolutely thrive on this. And then people got mad that these books they hated were chosen to be nominated. Well, when you go and make people, when you go and open your mouth and you talk shit about a book, you go and you get people interested in the book. What is it about the book? What is it about the book that you don't like? Okay, oh well, I'm going to go and buy the book because you didn't like it. It's called the Streisand effect. It happened with Hogwarts Legacy. People kept telling people, don't buy the game, don't buy the game, don't buy the game. People bought the game. And if people don't know exactly what the Streisand effect is, the Streisand effect is, a long time ago, Barbra Streisand wanted these photos that were taken of her not to be published. And she kept on pushing it. And people got interested in it, like, oh, was it about these photos that she doesn't like? And it ended up becoming very famous. So anytime that you bash a book, anytime you bash an author, anytime that you demand people not to buy something, it is going to create this effect of, I want to know what is it about this book or this author that you don't like. And what did it do? They sold so many books. I'm not saying they sold 80 million copies, but they sold enough for the publishing house to realize that these authors were bank. If people had just ignored them, if people had just ignored the marketing and not bought the book, or did not drive up the desire to buy the book because of the controversy, the authors probably would not have made as much money as they did. But because people use their emotions and they don't think, they allow these authors to become very successful. And then you get upset because the same authors that you allowed to become successful are being nominated. And I think that all you're going to do is drive up interest for the next book that they publish. And we have to look at these things from this critical thinking, which is something that a lot of people in America do not have. They do not have critical thinking skills. They don't. They let their emotions control and dictate how they interact with people, how they interact with products, things like that. And then complaining, getting angry that there's not hardly any diversity, any inclusion, things like that. All you're going to do is cause people to not want this in their books moving forward. Because if you're bitching and complaining about lack of these things, people are going to be like, oh, this sets you off. Then we're not going to continue with that. You'll complain that women only want to read books by straight white female authors. This is their right as consumers to consume what they want to consume. Getting upset and mad that they're not doing what you want them to do does not help anybody out. And so I'm leaving this video by saying this. You don't have to buy the book if you don't want to. And that's your prerogative. But getting upset every year, they get upset more and more and more, is not going to help anybody out. Okay, that's my video. Alright, speaking of books that people don't like, I am almost done with Alchemized. I'm going to turn my phone back on because I need to open up my Goodreads to see how long I have been reading this book. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.